Welcome back to my channel. My name is Candy and today I'm going to share with you my garden. My garden lately has been, I don't want to call it a can of worms, but it hasn't been great. We have suffered with some really hot weather here, like a month earlier than we expect, with no rain for quite a while, which has just taken a toll on my garden. Being outside has been hard, mainly because our nights have been like in the 90s, which is crazy to say, but I mean, middle of the night, it's still like 90, very high 80s. So by the time you get up, even if it's 5-6 in the morning, within a couple hours, you are sweating through your clothes. How gross does that sound? Horribly gross. You would be sweating through your clothes because you are just on the point of heat exhaustion. And that's the way things have been for the last couple weeks. So getting outside and doing a lot of yard work has been challenging. But things have still been growing, which I am always amazed with. So let me flip you around and let's talk about what's been growing. As we walk into the garden, you will see my long cinder block bed. Now in this bed, I did have zucchini and yellow squash growing. They have all since been gone because of vine borers. Unfortunately, they have come, but I did have a long run of getting squash without them. But growing here, we still have so many beautiful things. Look at this zinnia. It is just so pretty. And I have tons of cucumbers and watermelons and other melons growing here that I didn't think would honestly grow because of the heat. It's just been so hot. And down here, I know I have, here's a couple. Look at that baby watermelon. I do need to get that on a support so it's off so bugs leave that alone. But I have just cucumbers growing like crazy. I honestly never got a cucumber earlier in the year because they just didn't grow quite well. But now they are starting to grow, and I know the blooms might not completely develop because of the heat we have. But then I'm also finding things like this. This is poop from a bug. Is this poop or is this one eggs? I think maybe this one is eggs. And this up here, those black dots are poop. Woohoo! This is the time of year where we start incredibly struggling with bugs. And I will struggle with bugs till probably September. It's just inevitable with where we live in kind of a swampland. Here's one growing completely out of the bed and into the grass. Put this back in here. My basil, though, I have basil here and down there. It is just big and crazy, and I'm letting it just go this year. I haven't honestly even brought in much because I preserved so much basil last year that it's been crazy. And then I have zinnias in between. It's wild and crazy, but it is still sure beautiful. Now here and here are my potatoes, and with life, I honestly never got to harvest them, and now I think they've probably rotted. This is probably one of my biggest fails this year. I'm still going to dump them all out and look for them, but it just can't be today, unfortunately. And then here is my yarrow. It is holding on, and these are all old seeds, so I just kind of keep doing this here, letting all the seed pods fall back into the dirt. And then this fall, I'm going to separate all of these little baby plants, and I will start spreading them throughout the yard. Now this is the part where things look sad. I mean, things are growing, but they look sad. So you can kind of just tell here by like my tomatoes, the conditions of things. And here, it's just almost to the point where tomatoes are done here because of the amount of heat we get. But then again, I do have this very beautiful zinnia, which I love. Now I am struggling with my green stalks right now because it has been so hot that no matter if I water them 2-3 times a day, it cannot keep up with our heat, and everything is struggling. But surprisingly, some things are even holding on. Like, look at these pansies. I didn't think pansies would survive like 100+ degree days, but then nasturtiums didn't. That is one sad thing here, that nasturtiums don't. But then again, my strawberries are still putting on new leaves. So let's walk around. This one here, some strawberries have struggled, some are doing fantastic. My beans, on the other hand, haven't, because I can't keep them watered enough, no matter how much I try. But back in here, things aren't doing quite as bad as I honestly expected them to be. My marigolds this year have been a showstopper. I have them all around the garden, front yard, backyard. My lemon cucumbers have started producing. So these are the only cucumbers I have gotten this year, and they are so cute. They are like little lemons. Set that here and remember to come back for it. But then again, I have tomatoes that are just suffering. So you can see blight looking here. I have so much pest problems. They just aren't doing the best they could. Here, this tomato is flopped over here, and it is just not doing great. I have peppers down in here. This pepper seems to be okay. This has been my hardest year with peppers for some reason. It's okay. I'm not going to complain. But if we come over here, you can just see how these tomatoes are basically rotting in place. This is because of a bug we get. I believe it's called a leaf foot bug. Basically eat the sap out of the tomato and it just destroys it. And that's what we start facing this time of year. So basically it's me against the bugs. I do have these green beans here. These are pole beans that have basically gone crazy. I haven't gotten a bean yet, but they do have blooms. So I am just, ooh, as I drop that bloom, great. But you see these bugs here. Those are the leaf-footed bugs, I believe they're called. And these are the ones that kill my tomatoes. So there's some here. I see another one back there. The only way I have found to deal with them is to basically shove them into a bucket of soapy water, and then they're kind of stuck. But for now, I don't have time to I don't have time to get them. We did pick my garlic and all my leeks, so all these weeds are going to be coming out here soon. The weather is supposed to be breaking, so I'm hoping that means I can get out here and completely weed and re-top dress this, and then this will probably be full of pumpkins. I do have some green beans holding on, but you can just see they don't look good. It's from our weather. I do have a random sweet potato growing, so that's fun. I didn't plant sweet potatoes this year. I just didn't have it in me, and so it is still growing. Now if we go on to my beautiful trellis, it is crazy and beautiful and I love it. So these yard long beans have really taken off, and to be honest, they're okay. We don't necessarily like them. So they are going to get pulled when I overhaul here, and I'm just going to plant some regular pole beans on it instead. But gosh, they are prolific and I wish we enjoyed them more. So they have these really long beans, which is crazy. And the thinner and younger they are, I think the better they taste. They do not taste good here. But you can also save them for seed pots. But we're just not into them, unfortunately. But I am into what's going on in here, minus the fact that, you know, bugs this time of year. Let's see. Oh yeah, look at this. You see all of this? This is our main problem this time of year. But I do have zinnias blooming like crazy in here. They are all so gorgeous. So this is my Roma tomato. and I don't trim it because it is a determinant. It has had nothing but blossom and rot, and it is just frustrating. These sun gold tomatoes though have been amazing. I love them. They're peeking all through here. I do have cucumbers and Armenian cucumbers, and I think regular cucumbers and tromboncino squash. I think that's what I have here. And they are starting to grow, but nothing has put off anything yet because I think the heat is just dropping blooms. And then I have the same on this side, but as we come over here, you can just see the mess I have going on. It is just crazy. So tomatoes have been falling. Tomatoes are dying. I have weeds I have to get in here and deal with. But gosh, look at this. Craziness. Craziness. I do also have a sweet potato that decided to grow here in this back corner out of nowhere, and I'm letting it go. But you can just see my tomatoes do not look good. So what I think I'm going to do, and it's honestly going to break my heart, but I think I'm going to tear them all out, which is kind of crazy to say. I think I'm going to tear them all out. I will find some suckers on them, and I will repropagate tomatoes so I can plant them again and start getting them. But I have honestly had an amazing run with my tomatoes. They are just overrun by disease and pests. And look at this. This is just what's going on. Like tomatoes here, tomatoes there. And if I take them out, I can clean them, I can weed them, and then I can put in crops that we can enjoy again. One reason I am not super sad about losing my tomatoes this time of year is because I already have a bunch in the freezer, and we don't need to can tomato sauce. Last year I canned so much tomato sauce that I don't really have to this year. So it's not a worry. This has been my best tomato year ever living in Mississippi, and I'm really proud that I have figured out how to grow them well. And next year I think I will do even better. But it just comes a time here where they just won't grow. It's too hot, too bug infested, and we do have such a long growing season that I can take suckers, propagate them, and I can start them again in probably September, and we will be just fine, and I will get more tomatoes. Our local farm does the same thing. They're about done and shutting down for their summer season. They'll take about a few weeks, maybe a month break, and then they'll open back for fall, and we'll start getting fall things in. But we're just kind of done, which is crazy with some crops, because I know some people are honestly just getting started, and we're already done with like wave 1. In the garden, I also have this line of tomatoes, and they have done so well, surprisingly, with everything that has been put on them this year. I am very, very impressed. I mean, I'm still getting tomatoes. Look at these little guys growing. I've gotten some amazing, delicious one. A loud truck. So these are just, you can just tell, they're just kind of done. Now these peppers are growing amazing. Every year I grow peppers in these 2 pots, and they do so good. I don't understand it. I've struggled with peppers everywhere this year except these 2 pots. So this is my sweet red Marconi, and these are jalapenos, and we've been picking peppers off of them like crazy. So I don't really know what I do here. It's nothing different than other places. These just grow so well right here, and it's just crazy. All right, we're moving on into the front yard. This is my little random spot that I love to grow things in. I have zinnias, I have a sunflower, just so many beautiful things, even marigolds, and then I have a borage that's pretty much done, but a zinnia plant is basically holding it up, and ignore all my weeds. I gotta find a day to go weed. I know I do. So over here is my line of pots that kind of
hold in our patio. And right here I have my satsuma tree that had some snapdragons that did really, really well through the heat. Here's my lemon tree. Look at that beauty. I'm so excited for these. So this is one of my pots that is incredibly struggling. I think it's between lack of rain and bug pressure we're having. I think fire ants got in there because you can just see my lemon balm is basically dead. My mom, it's just so much that was so full of life less than 2 weeks ago, and it's just shriveled up. And then you compare it to this pot, my chives are blooming. I mean, look at that. My mum just went through its first cycle. The Tulsi basil I have is doing good. My lavender is doing good. It's even blooming. Look at that. My calendula in there is done, but I don't think calendula holds up to our heat well. Here's our lime tree. It's a key lime. Key lime is one of my husband's favorites, so we're growing that too. So here's my mint. This is another pot I think that got affected by fire ants, and you can see their nest still at the bottom of this one. And this is one of the things that I deal with every summer that is just I struggle with. My sage is doing great. I have two types of sage here, as well as a watermelon from a library day that my kids have planted, and my catmint right there. This bed around my tree has a whole bunch of really pretty things in it when it's full in bloom. This time of year you would expect everything to be looking beautiful, but it's a little crusty. We have echinacea, purple cornflower, I have oregano, I have cosmos, thyme, bee balm. My bee balm has fallen over everywhere. It's just a floppy mess, and you can see it right here. It's even lost all of its blooms. Um, I also have parsley in this bed, and it's done its thing. So what I do is I always take the little seeds and I just toss them back in the dirt, and I'm hoping that will create volunteers. That is one of my big goals in my garden, is to have more and more volunteers. Now in this long bed I have my fruits. So my blueberries. These blueberries are doing amazing still this year. So I'm pretty sure I have two different varieties. One variety produces earlier and one produces a little later. The one I just picked is a little later. And then I'm also getting like blueberry babies, I'm calling it. So I'm having offshoots from my blueberries, and it's very exciting. Like they're producing well. And then back there I have a blackberry, and this is my super tall volunteer sunflower. I want to save the seeds for it. That's why that guy is like that. Have more blueberries. There's a tomato, a random broccoli that survived over the winter. I'm not quite sure how. In the back I have a ground cherry, and you can see my marigolds and just kind of some of my fillers. This year I mulched super heavy with leaves of my peach tree. It's doing good, and you can even see some of my tomatoes out there. This past year I mulched super heavy with leaves, and it really, really helped this bed. But by this time of year, my leaves are starting to disappear, and I'm starting to get weeds. So I'm hoping to keep the leaf mulch going. And there you can see the two differences between my blueberry bushes, but look how big they are. And I even have an okra finally starting. My kids helped me plant these, so they are very, very densely packed. And then back there is a butterfly bush I planted last year, and it's came back this year and doing its thing. I even have more tomatoes down here. I just love the pop of all those marigolds I planted this year. Now here is my other tree bed. This one never does as good as the other one, and I don't know quite why. But I planted dill here and it did amazing. I had artichokes there. They did not do good. I don't know if they're going to last with the heat I have here. But just like my parsley, I take all the dill seeds and I sprinkle them in. I want those to volunteer so bad. This is salvia. I got this plant last year as a clearance and it's done so well. My petunias, on the other hand, not so well. And then this bed we're walking to is my bed I overhauled, and it's not really performed the way I thought it would. I don't know if these azalea bushes that are here are kind of affecting the soil at all, but it's not affecting the tomatillos that are growing here. So everything growing against the wall with the cattle panel is doing great, but all the flowers I planted here, not necessarily doing so great. And we did get a ton of heat and not a lot of rain, so I know that's adding to it, but I think I'm going to cut back these azaleas again, and then just kind of throwing some seeds out there, and maybe in the spring of next year things will just magically produce. I'm just waiting to see. You know, sometimes it's not perfect. This right here is the bed in front of my window that connects to the bed we were just talking about. This is where I started my herbs 3+ years ago, I think now. So I started with oregano, rosemary, and thyme, and over the years I've added. So we have some lavender. I believe one's called an angel flower down there. That one is not an herb. That is just a flower. Oh, little Mr. B. And everything here grows so well. None of this dies back except my pineapple sage down at the end. And we have fresh herbs here for long. It's one of the perks for living where we do. And this is a little overgrown, and this fall I think we're going to do a big overhaul and clean this.
So you can see the conditions of my garden. They are a little frustrating, a little crazy, and I feel like some people would just expect that my plants would be so good all the time when I tell them we basically grow till December, but it's just not the case. We also do have the pool in here, which we have majorly been enjoying. I really love it there, but some big garden overhaul is coming, so get ready for some videos here soon. I'm very sad to pull tomatoes, but I know it's not the end of our tomatoes, so it's just time to take a deep breath. I'm trying to decide how much I want to plant in green beans to get a good harvest, because it's like growing peas. You need to plant a lot. So I just have things to get to work on, and the bug pressure this year isn't as bad as it has been, but out of nowhere it's just come in like all at once. So instead of fighting the bugs, I'm just gonna let things naturally rotate, and when it's showing me that my tomatoes are done, I'm gonna let them go. I planted my tomatoes in January, so I started them from seed in January. It is now July. I think they've had a good run. Could I baby them and keep them going? Probably, but at the same time it's just not worth the stress and the bugs. So I will cut suckers and we will propagate and we will go from there. And I think that's a great idea. I just want people to know, like, it's okay. You can start over. And that's what I'm gonna do, because I have enough growing season. And why not? So thank you for joining me. I really do appreciate it. And my messy garden that I know is full of beauty. I love it. And I will see you guys later for our next garden video. Have a good one, friends.